Hey yarn friends, welcome back to LlamaMamaKayla's Yarn Tube. Today I'm going to loom knit a mug rug. So we're going to need a loom piece using a small gauge, a pick, one of your favorite coffee cups, and some number 4 yarn. Alright, so I'm using a straight piece that is part of a sock loom. Anytime that I find sock looms on clearance, like at Joann's or somewhere, I will pick those up because I take them apart and use the straight pieces to make projects. So that's what I'm using today. And so I used my mug and kind of sized up how wide I need to make it. And for mine, I counted out 13 pegs. Now, keeping in mind that when your fabric comes off the loom, it's going to be smaller than these 13 pegs. It may be more like 11, or maybe even a little smaller. So you want to give your enough space that when it comes off the loom, it will still be a good size for your cup. So that's why I used my cup and tried to decide, how many pegs to use. So you can just eyeball yours and decide how many pegs you need to use to make yours. Okay, and so this is the deal. I'm using 13 pegs. I'm going to use E-wraps and purls. I'm going to go that way on E-wrap, and I'm going to go this way on purls. When I'm going in this direction, I'm always going to skip the first peg, and I have it marked here. When I'm going in that direction, I'm always going to skip the first peg, but I'm always going to E-wrap the last peg because I want my edges to look just as nice as my top and bottom. So that's why I'm doing it that way. All right, and then to get started, I'm using this Peaches and Cream Stripey. It's a number 4. You can use any yarn that you want to use. I just happened to have this laying there, so I decided to pick it up. Okay, so I'm going to make a slip knot, and I'm going to leave myself a little bit of tail to work with. I hate it when I finish a project and then my tail is so short, it's too short to even weave in. So I like to leave myself a little bit of a tail. Okay, so there we go. There's my drawstring. I mean, not drawstring, but slip knot on peg 1. Okay, I'm going to do a crochet cast on. So to do that, I am going to go behind peg 1. I'm going to take my yarn and go behind peg 2. On peg 1, we just have our slip knot. Now we're going behind peg 2, and I'm pulling my yarn through like this. And then I have my yarn between peg 1 and peg 2. I have 1 strand and 2 behind peg 2. So I'm going to take this strand and I'm going to slip it inside that, and then I'm going to kind of pull it tight. And you might end up with a very big loop, but you can make it smaller just by going kind of back and forth and tightening it up. Then I'm going to take this loop and go behind peg 3 and take this yarn here and go slip it through the inside and pull it tight. Like I said, you can make that loop smaller by tightening it up. Okay, so now I'm going to take this and go behind the next peg and then slip this yarn inside. Okay, there we go. Now just slip this on around here. And I'm going to do this all the way down to, I'm using 13 pegs, but I'm going to do this down to peg 12, and peg 13 will be a little bit different. You see I have this big old loop right here that I don't need, so I'm just going to pull it and make it a little smaller. Okay, and this is peg 12, my next to the last peg. Okay, and then I'm going to make this loop smaller. And then for my last peg, I'm just going to put the loop on the peg. So there we go. So you can see the back. That's what it looks like on the back. All right. So I'm just going to start going back. And I'm going to do pearls going in this direction. I'm going to skip this first peg. And I'm going to purl down to peg 1. But on peg 1, I'm going to E-wrap. Now, if you're not familiar with pearls, there is a video on my channel that shows you in, slowly and in detail how to do pearls. Pearls are really easy once you get the hang of it. All you're doing is going down through the loop, reaching over and scooping up the yarn that's there. Pull that off the peg, and then the loop that you created, place it on the peg, and then pull your yarn to tighten it up. Okay, so now I'm at peg 1. I'm going to E-wrap peg 1 instead of purl. Uh-oh. All right, so now I'm going to go back in this direction, and I'm going to skip the first peg, and I'm going to E-wrap all the way down. And you notice I did wrap the last peg here. I wrapped every peg except for the very first one. And then just yarn over. Okay, so now I'm going to purl, but I'm going to skip that first one. So my yarn's going to come this way. I'm skipping this peg, so on the next peg, I just purl. Okay, so that's the next to the last. So on the last one, I'm going to E-wrap and yarn over. So now going in this direction again, E-wrap. over. Okay, I'm going to continue to E-wrap and purl until my fabric here gets long enough that my coffee mug fits on it. So I'll catch back up with you after I get some length. Okay, I have my mug rug as long as I want it, and my mug fits on there nicely. So I'm going to take it off the loom here, and I'm going to use a flat bind off. So for this, I need a long tail that needs to be at least double or maybe even triple of the amount of pegs I used. So I'm just going to cut a really long tail here. Alright, and so to bind off, I'm going to bring my yarn around the first peg here, but I'm not going to do anything on the first peg. I'm going to go to the second peg, reach down through the stitch, and pull up my tail from the bottom. Then I'm going to take this tail back over to the first peg and reach up through the bottom through both strands and grab the working yarn tail and pull it through. And then lay it across peg 2. And so on peg 3, I'm going to reach down, pull up the yarn all the way, and then lay this over peg 2, reach up from the bottom and pull the yarn down and out the bottom. Lay it across peg 3, peg 4, reach down from the top and pull it up through the top. Go back to the peg 3, reach up and grab the yarn and pull it down to the bottom. So I'm going to do this going back all the way down to the end. And always remember to go back and get your peg that you skipped. I do have a video on my channel that shows this a little bit slower, if you need to watch that. Okay, so now I'm at the next to the last, and I'm going to lay it across the next to the last, go to the last peg, reach down and pull it up, go back to the next to the last, go up from the bottom and pull it down, and then I'm just going to pull it up through the last one more time. Okay, and now my project is ready to come off the loom. And I do want to secure this one right here. So I'm going to take a tapestry needle and thread my needle. And I see that I came up through the bottom, so I'm going to go up through the bottom again and then go through my yarn loop before it closes, and that closes up the yarn there. And so I don't need to hide all of this tail, but I need to hide a little bit of the tail and then clip it off. So I am going to just go in through right here and just pick up a stitch in there. I'm not going through to the bottom. You can see that you can't see my orange needle. So I'm just picking up a top stitch here and going down a little ways. And then I'm going to pull this through, but I'm going to be careful not to scrunch up my work here. I want to keep it flat. I pulled it all the way through, so now I'm going to skip the first one that I came out of and just go back through the same top stitches. And maybe not all the way back down to the end. And then I'm going to pull it through. And see, I'm going to get my tail through there. Alright, and now I'm going to do that one more time. Just going in that direction. I'm going to skip this first stitch that I came out of and go to the next one. Okay. And then I'm going to clip my tail right there. Okay. And you can see the edges have nice stitches there. I'm going to also weave in this tail, but what I was going to say about the edges there, that E-wrapping on the last peg of each row is what gives it that nice edge. Okay. And now the same thing, I'm just going to weave this in, and this is not as long of a tail, so I can't do as much with it, but I can weave it in a little bit. Alright, and I'm going to clip the rest of that tail off. Okay, so that's my mug rug, except I want to put some fringe on the very ends right here. So I'm going to take my yarn here and I'm going to lay it across the index card, and I'm just going to make some loops. Okay, and you don't want to wrap it too tight because you don't want your card to bend. You want to keep your strands all about the same size there. And I'm going to cut it there. And then I'm going to cut along the bottom and holding them on. I need to cut across the top. Okay, so there's some strands to put fringe. I'm going to take 2 strands. I'm going to go up through each stitch and just pull that through. Well, only one went through right. And then just stick your tails in through your loop. You can use 1 or 2 strands. Looks like just 1 strand is going to work for me at the moment. I think my strands could have been a little bit longer. They'd been easier to work with, and they can always be trimmed later. Okay, so just continue doing that along each strand, each stitch across the top, and then across the bottom. Okay, so I finished adding the fringe to my little mug rug here, and so I'm going to take my big sharp scissors and trim up my edges so they're all about the same length. Nothing technical to like measure or anything like that. I'm just eyeballing it. And just look at them and see if I'm happy with them. Well, I think that looks great. So here is my finished mug rug, and my mug sits on it perfectly. Probably any of my coffee cups will, because I picked kind of the largest one that I had. So it's really cute. And you can pick, different yarns to do your mug rug with. And if you do a larger yarn, of course, it would work up faster. And you could use a larger gauge, just depending on what you pick. But this one is just made with that little number 4 peaches and cream stripey. But you could choose any yarn or any size yarn that you want to use and just change your gauges appropriately to your yarn size. And there we go, a cute little mug rug. Thanks for watching.